Doc,
Hello, Al, can you? Yes, I can. How's the volume coming through?
pretty good. If you speak a little louder, just turn up a hair, we're good.
Okay, perfectly. All right. How you doing for Saturday? Is everything all right? I hope everything's all right from your end now. I know you had.
Yeah, everything's good, Wally. Everything's great, man. So how about I open the show and we get to a fun show?
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm absolutely ready.
All right. All right, everybody. Welcome back to No Cover TV Podcast. That's right. I'm your host, Big Al, and I take that original local and national music scene and I shove it in your face. I've been doing this since 1997 for quite a while, and I don't plan on stopping. There's a lot of great music out there around the world, all genres, all age groups. It's amazing what I'm coming across. It seems every decade, even every 5 years, things are changing up. It's great stuff. My three favorite words: support, support, support your artist. Get out there and see them. Pay that cover charge. Get their swag, CD, digital downloads, whatever they got, their CDs and stuff. But check them out. And also do me another favor. When you're driving around, turn that radio down a little bit. Stick your head out the window, because every block has a great artist, singer, songwriter, or a band. Every block. So you just never know what you're going to hear or what's going to become of these artists. If you want to get a hold of me, I appreciate it. If you go to the website, www.nocovertv.live, you can check out the website there. Bottom of the page is a little donation button. We appreciate every little bit that comes in. It helps out No Cover TV to get your music out there. And you can also find me on Facebook under No Cover TV or Al Brady. And if I find you, things turn out a little differently. We got a great show for you today. Interesting show, I should say. In the house today, Dr. Wally Bartfay. How you doing?
Hey, Al, thank you for having me this Saturday. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it too, my friend, you coming on. So how's things over in your neck of the woods?
Pretty good. I'm in Oshawa. It's about 45 minutes just east of Toronto. Actually, I was in studio in Toronto yesterday recording some new music. So that was exciting. Indeed. Yeah.
That is exciting. You are a very interesting person. And there's quite a few things I want to cover with you. Now, let me tell everybody on podcast land what we've got here with Dr. Wally Bartfay here. He's a singer-songwriter. He's an indie country artist with rock, with a little kick to it, I say. How's that,
right.
Wally?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. When I was growing up, we used to listen to country music, driving to the cottage, and we kind of lived in a more country kind of area. Now it's all developed, of course, all of those farmlands and apple orchards that used to be by my elementary school, for example, has all disappeared. Unfortunately, it's all condos and apartments and you name it, houses now. That's a place called back in Chateauguay, Quebec, where I grew up. But yeah, we used to listen to John Denver and Johnny Cash. A lot of Gordon Lightfoot, a great Canadian artist, Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh, yes, he is.
Yeah. My mother was really into Tina Turner and the Rolling Stones and so forth. So that's why I'm a country rock guy, I guess. Yeah.
So mom rubbed off on you.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, let's just continue in the past. All right, let's stay in the time capsule here. Let's go back here. I want to know some things. Okay, so you're listening to country music as you're growing up, right. But it looks like you took a different path in your career. We're going to get to that. But when did you decide, at what age, that music was an interest to you and you wanted to kind of pursue that?
Right. Well, I was when I was a young lad, I started to play any instrument I can get my hands on. First instrument that I actually learned to play, believe it or not, was the squeeze box, the old accordion.
Yes.
But I wanted to buy my first guitar, and I got my first guitar at the age of roughly 14. I took on odd jobs. I worked in my uncle's had a garage, and I used to pump gas and change oil on weekends and during the summer. And in Canada, during the winter, I would shovel driveways and cut, do painting for neighbors, whatever just to save up to buy that first secondhand guitar. that I got for about $50 Canadian, I guess it was. Got some new strings, and literally I learned to play the guitar on my own. I could read music, so basic music, but I went to the library. We didn't have the internet back then when I was growing up, and we just took out books from the library, and you'd look at chords and so forth, and just keep doing it until it sounded right. So, and I would literally play it until my fingers bled. That's how I learned to play guitar.
That's commitment right there. That's commitment. No,
but performing, actually, my cousin Irene Bellin, my sister Kathy, and I, and at Christmas time, we used to put on Christmas concerts in a seniors home in a place called Chattagee.
Nice.
Wanting to give back to our community, and Christmas can be a lonely time for seniors, and there's a lot of veterans there as well, and and so we used to put on Christmas. My mom and my aunts would bake Christmas cookies and cakes and whatever for the seniors there. And what's really ironic is, I look back at this seniors home where I started to play, when I was like 10 years old or something, doing my first real public performances. Really? That's where my father ironically ended up. He unfortunately, he had a series of strokes and required 24/7 care, and he developed advanced dementia. But that's where he ended up, ironically, in that very same nursing home where we used to put on those Christmas concerts. So it's really, the wheel of life really spins. It comes around, and you give, and you just sometimes take life for granted, and those memories come back, and maybe I'll talk a little bit more about it. But music was very, very central for my dad when he developed vascular dementia. And how we did music therapy, but I can get into that a little bit later. Yeah, that's a little bit of background. But when I was going to a community college and things, and a friend of mine, Danny Arsenault, who unfortunately passed away, we used to play in a lot of coffee houses in Montreal, bistros, and we would just play for tips and free lunch, or just try to impress some girls during our youth. That's what we did.
I know.
That's what we did for fun. Yeah. But then life happened, going to work and kids and growing up and so forth. Yeah. And music was kind of put on it was always there, but I really rediscovered music and started to get back into songwriting during COVID. Because of, in Canada, we had this really major lockdown here in Ontario. I was teaching at university, and all the classes were online, and everybody was kind of bunkered down, if you want, and dusted off the old guitar that I bought, ordered some new strings and new pegs and fixed it up a bit, and there it started again. Yeah, started again. So started. Yeah, so music found me again during COVID again. So I'm really glad for that. That's a little bit of background for you, my musical journey there.
I appreciate that, Doctor. And that's an interesting journey. And I'm glad that the music's always been with you and you didn't let it go, because it does play a big part in your life, mentally and physically. Absolutely. And as you said, doing it in the nursing homes. I've had artists go to nursing homes in different situations and do benefits and fundraisers. It means a lot to me to be able to give back like that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much. So we got to move on here. Now, let's get to present day here. Now, everybody out there in podcast land, Dr. Wally's called a doctor for a reason. A university professor, associate dean of health scientists at Ontario Tech.
That's right. Yeah, we're in Oshawa. Yeah, and I was known by I got the nickname about 15 years ago or so as the Rockin' Prof. And the reason for that is, you often when you ask somebody to describe a professor, you figure someone with a long beard and having a jacket with patches on their their elbows and things like this. And it's quite intimidating when you go to university, you have 100, let's say 150 plus students sitting in a large lecture hall. Nobody knows each other, especially the first years. And how do you break the ice? And for me, it's music. And, I walk in wearing, cowboy boots and jeans and an old Stetson hat, and they look at you, who is this guy?
Right.
And then I pull out my guitar out of the case, and I'll tell them a little story. I'll say, okay, today we're going to be talking about neurological disorders, for example. One neurological disorder that personally has touched me is dementia. There's over 100 forms of dementia. Yeah. And then I tell a little story, and I wrote this song for my dad. And I start off the class like that right away. There's an automatic connection. You break down all the barriers.
Yes.
People see that you're human, you're not robotic, and you have that personal touch. And music, touches us on so many dimensions. It has wonderful social, cognitive benefits. It makes us feel good. It enhances long-term memory. It's great for promoting sleep. You name it. Music is really medicine. That's the message that I have. And so that's how I got the nickname, the AKA, the Rockin' Prof. And I'll share some music, videos and songs with the class regularly, and they're really into it. So I'm really glad.
That's really
I'm really glad. Yeah.
You're the cool one on campus.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, my teaching evaluations were always really up there, so I hope the music was one way of connecting with them.
That is one great way to connect with people. And we're going to talk about the music therapy in just a minute here, but let's talk about some music. Okay. Now, I love what you're doing. I love your music and everything. Now, if we put together a full EP yet, or are we just putting singles out?
I'm working on an album. It's called Timeless. And I have about, I'm working on that magical number 12, for the album. Okay. So I'm up to, with the current recordings and hopefully releasing them in a couple weeks and so forth. I might have my first fully studio recorded album. I have lots of songs that I've written over the years that I have to get into studio. Yeah. Hopefully that Timeless album will be coming will be coming out this year. Yeah, this summer.
That'll be great. Yeah. I can't wait. Yeah. I love the title. I love that title. Now, when you're putting together your music, are you using studio musicians in the back? Your producer doing that? What's going on?
Yeah, combination. Yeah, we're using studio musicians. I'm I play several instruments, but I'm not a master of any instrument myself. I can play brass instruments. I can play the piano. I can play the keyboard. I can play, guitar. And, you name an instrument and you give me a couple days on it, I'll probably figure out how to make some noise on it. But yeah, I, for the more, I think today we have to go with the more professionally, recorded songs, and there are studio musicians that I've been using for about a year and a half, 2 years now, for the ones that are hitting the radio stations and the ones that I released on Spotify. Those are all studio done. Yeah. I might be on some of the instruments, but I don't play everything, for example.
Yeah. Great job. Now tell everybody out in podcast land what platforms they can find you on.
Oh, you name it, I'm on, like Spotify, and I'm on Facebook, TikTok, X, they call it Twitter now. Yes. Vivo, I have some music videos on Vivo, which I was quite proud to get it on there, because those video productions I did myself. I'm an amateur photographer, at least as a hobby, and doing the production and the videography and everything. And I was quite happy they accepted it on Vivo, because they're very, very picky. So I have probably about 8 or 9 videos now up on Vivo, so I'm quite proud of that as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, but YouTube and you name it, I'm on it. LinkedIn, every social platform that's probably out there, any major one, I'm on there. Yeah.
Good deal. Everybody out there, you heard them. Check out Wally Bartfay. All right. Get on your PCs, laptops, cell phones, get to these platforms, check out that music. All right. We still got more to talk about. Now I see you got quite a few fans that love you. How do you think about that?
Oh, it's amazing. And you know what's amazing today, which didn't happen when I was a young lad, is really this social media and the internet. It really has changed our world and connected us globally. I have my songs being played in Europe, in South Africa, in Japan, all over the world. It really really warms my heart. And then connecting with musicians around the world. Like platforms like SoundCloud, for example, and they want to share music or something, or they want to drop by ideas on you and feedback, and it's just a wonderful platform that we didn't have when I was growing up, and how to connect with these. There's so many great talented musicians out there. It's
amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
It is.
As artists, they're so supportive. Even it may not be your primary genre or something. I might be listening to a colleague in Germany who does jazz and so forth. And it's great to share that music, and you pick up these undertones and so forth, and you get ideas from them. You get inspired by them.
You do.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel right now that the camaraderie among artists is a lot better than it was years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about, Al, I'm just worried, to tell you the truth, about the AI generated music that's coming along.
It's scary.
It's scary. I think music needs to be organic. It's been around for literally thousands of years. And this AI generated music is threatening a lot of artists around the world. So that's coming, unfortunately, around the corner, and it's already here.
It's here.
But the next 5-10 years, it's really going to impact indie artists and other artists as well. Ones who are signed artists around the world, I would argue.
I don't think it's right. I think there should be limitations on what that AI can do. It shouldn't imitate or anyone's voice or personality or their music. No.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. It's a form of plagiarism, or artistic plagiarism, if you think about it. Yeah. That's what it really is, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Now, you were talking how you were charting, like you said, Euro indie charts, top 5 world indie charts, U.S. top charts, nominated to Lee's Music Awards. What else you got going on? Well, you look at this, unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I've released 6 songs that in the past year, a little over a year or so, all made, like you said, the Euro indie top 10 or top 5. 2 of them made the world indie as well. It's Friday Night came in second, and my newest release, You're My Beautiful, that I wrote for my wife Emma, hit number 1 actually back in January. I was very excited. Early January, second week of January or so, it hit number 1 on the World Indie Top 100 music lists. It also hit number 1 on the Euro Indie music list, which was really, really exciting. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, let's touch on the music for a second here. We usually say that for last, but I want to hit it right now. Let's talk about You're My Beautiful. You did write that for your wife, didn't you?
Yes, my it's came well this year here just before Christmas kind of marks a lot of anniversaries. Three real milestones for my wife Emma. First of all, she retired. She's an academic as well. She was teaching epidemiology here in the faculty as well, and health sciences, where I teach, and I teach epidemiology and public health as well. And so she retired last year, in last summer. So that was the first milestone. Second one is I wrote it for her birthday because of her birthday coming up around that time in November. So I wanted to give her something from the heart. and
Right.
something that money can't buy. It
Right.
was straight from the heart, pure. It was just pure 100% love and emotion in that song. And the third one is she's a 10-year breast cancer survivor.
Beautiful.
So she's went through a lot of surgeries and, complications afterwards and so forth. And despite all the surgeries and what have you, and scars and in my eyes, she's the most beautiful woman in the world to me. So there you go. And so that was the inspiration behind "You're My Beautiful." Yeah. And on the instrumental is on the guitar is Stephen Wrench, who did a beautiful acoustic guitar. And
Yes.
yeah, and also we have Molly Cherry Holmes, who's a Grammy nominee, 5-time Grammy nominee, who played the violin. It's a very emotional song. It's a very beautiful song, and it's just it just always tugs at my heartstrings, even when I hear it. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope your listeners enjoy it as well.
And in the last word, it's a beautiful song, and it does touch your heart. And I'm glad you made that for your wife and for all of us to enjoy, most definitely. Now, there's 2 words that you mentioned when I do my snooping around, and I want you to explain it to the folks out there.
Absolutely.
Fine wine.
Oh yeah, we as we age, we're getting up there in the years as well. I'm a baby boomer, and things get better with age, and
Yes,
it gets more mellow and so forth. You tend to mellow out as you get a little bit older and wiser. You're not 20 years old anymore, wild and untamed as I was. We've have children; they're all adults now and growing up and so forth. And yeah, it's like fine wine. So the wine might have a little dust on it, when you store it. That's okay, or a little bit of gray hair if you want coming out. That symbolism there, But inside the wine, that's what counts. Inside, it's always getting more mellow and more beautiful to the taste, right? More whole body taste, if you want. So, yeah, it becomes more. Our love hopefully grows like fine wine. It hopefully, as age goes on, you have more experiences that you can share together, and becomes more and more special with time. Yeah.
I like how you put that. I like that. Now let's jump over to this subject here. You brought up, noise therapy, music therapy.
Yeah.
And that works on the frequency waves.
Absolutely.
Give me a few minutes. Talk to me about this.
Yeah, well, just the whole thing about music therapy, people think of it as a relatively new concept, but let's go back about 2,000 years.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with traditional Chinese medicine, medicine dates about, over 2,000 years. Mm-hmm. And what I find really interesting is when you look at the Chinese character for music and happiness, they are in fact identical, the Chinese character. Mm. They're identical, right? And because music makes us happy. Yes. And the symbol for medicine in ancient Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM for short, is that symbol of music or happiness with a horizontal line and 2 short vertical lines, and that basically means plants or herbs on top. Originally. So the Chinese symbol for medicine and music and happiness are all connected, and with TCM. We go back to ancient Greece as well. Apollo, was the single god for both music and medicine. And many cultures use chanting, singing, repetitive drumming for healing purposes, to decrease pain, sleep, to ease stress. It's early Egyptian depictions of the sistra, which is sort of like a rattle, and their flutes and harps. It was all for healing and making people happy. But even going back a little bit further, if we go back to Neolithic times, the earliest instrument, we were making music before recorded history. Archaeologists have found, for example, in Slovakia, a place called the Witch's Cave, this long bone or femur from a bear that had drill marks in it. They actually drilled it, and it was the very, very first musical instrument that they found. It was a flute.
Really?
And yeah, and this dates back like 40 to 60,000 years. So we were making instruments 40 to 60,000 years ago. Music was part of our humanity, and it remains today.
Yes.
In Babylon, just another example, earliest musical notations about 2000 BCE in present-day Iraq. It was called Babylonia back then, and there's clay tablets called the cuneiform tablets that they had the first fragmentation or fragmentary instructions for performing music. So actually writing down the music that they were performing. So we have been doing music for literally tens of thousands of years. And I got into music therapy. As I mentioned, my dad had a series of strokes. And one of the last memories to go for our long-term memory with dementia and other forms of, there's 100 forms of dementia. He had vascular dementia, which is the second most common. The most common one is Alzheimer's disease.
Yes.
And dementia now in Canada is affecting about 1 in 4 seniors over 85. And in the States, just Alzheimer's disease, 1 in 9 individuals in the States over 65 have Alzheimer's disease. It's a form of dementia. And worldwide, we're already 55 million. We're increasing because of our aging populations by 10 million every year. And by 2050, we're looking at 153 million cases of dementia. Yeah. So what's interesting, if you look at a dementia patient and you take a brain scan, a CT scan with advanced dementia like my dad had, there's not a lot of activity. When you look at the scan, it lights up with colors and so forth when our brains are active and thinking. When you play music, a song that is familiar to them, a familiar playlist that you may get from their family members, for example, and it could be, it could be gospel music, it could be, jazz, country, rock and roll, whatever they listen to. And you just see the whole entire brain literally engages and lights up. You'll see the temporal lobe, the frontal, parietal, cerebral, limbic systems, they all light up like a Christmas tree.
Incredible.
And this is what I've been doing with my dad when he was having something called BPSDs. These are behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia, like hallucinations and agitation, aggression, and things like this. And I used to sing him folk songs to calm him down.
Nice.
So, this when he would be having agitate, all of a sudden I would start singing songs that we used to sing around the campfire up in the cottage. He would immediately change. He would start singing and he would become a different person. And you would see that he could see, even though he was advanced dementia, you can see that his face would light up and it would bring him joy to sing. So that was my, my personal experience with my dad. And then I wanted to research this as a researcher at the university. But my first clinical experience, actually, this is what kind of triggered the ideas to use music with my dad. Probably dates back to the 1980s or so in a hospital called Douglas Hospital. It was a psychiatric hospital just in sort of the Montreal area there. And I remember reading a chart, was a patient with advanced Alzheimer's disease. And this senior, I believe she was 84 at the time, it mentioned that she was a high school music teacher and she played piano. And her daughter was with me, and she said, my mother has been really, for the past 8 years, totally disconnected, almost in a vegetative state. And she was sitting in a wheelchair, and there was a common room for patients. And we wheeled her into the common room, and I put her hands on the piano keys, and she lit up. It was like turning on a light switch. After about 4 or 5 seconds, she was touching the piano keys, and something registered in that long-term memory of hers, and she started to play. And she smiled, and her daughter was crying because she was so emotional. So I haven't seen my mother move or react to her environment. She was totally disconnected. It was like a light switch went on, and she played literally for like an hour and a half, song after song after song. And that's it. It just really touched me. And I remembered that. And now, being a university prof and so forth, when I was associate dean, I had an opportunity to work here in Whitby, just one town over. It's a place called Ontario Shore Center for Mental Health Sciences. And we with the hospital and through the university and some of our students, we actually came up with something called the Clinical Demonstration Unit, where we tried to do some interventions for these patients with different forms of dementia, but non-pharmacological, to deal with these BPSDs I mentioned, behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia. So we've done things like light therapy, because we know, especially in Canada, vitamin D levels are low. We're always covered up. And, light therapy helps. Without enough vitamin D, we actually suffer from depression or SAD, seasonal affective disorder. We've tried some robotic interventions, reminiscent therapy, where you show old, photos, and it kind of brings back memories to them, and music therapy. Beautiful. So with music therapy, so what we did is we actually wanted to demonstrate clinically and do a properly designed study that we published in peer-reviewed articles and so forth, so it has some credibility. Sure. To show that music can be used. It's non-invasive. There's no side effects. It's very cost-effective. So traditionally, when we listen to music nowadays, we put on headphones. But a lot of these patients, unfortunately, don't like to have something on their head. They actually get agitated if you put on a name band on their hand, like most patients will have. They'll try to chew it off or tear it off themselves. Some of them. So we had to figure out a way. We couldn't to play music for them, but not disturb other patients. So we came up with the idea of parabolic speakers. So So parabolic speakers are directional speakers. If you just aim it at that person, and you'll see it in community settings, for example, at crosswalks when the beep goes off. So anyone at the crosswalk will hear it. But as soon as you're over a few feet, you don't hear it anymore. So it's directional speakers. So we created these customized playlists, with about 20 songs, with their family members and loved ones. What type of music did they like? And we did baseline measures for every patient. How often were these BPSDs occurring? Some of them were hallucinating, some were agitation, aggression, crying, very emotional, sundowning. We recorded all of these baseline measures. And then we also looked at how often the staff had to intervene, because staffing is very expensive, and also what they call PRN medications. So giving these antipsychotic medications and everything. How often? We don't want to go the pharmaceutical route. We want to go non-invasive and non-pharmacological. That was the objective of this unit, this clinical demonstration unit. So non-surgical, non-invasive, all of those parameters. Then we would play music for them at least three times a week, and see how often BPSDs were occurring, and also afterwards, do some post, see how long it lasted. What we found is that music therapy, decreased the needs for all of these PRN medications. Really nice. Decrease the need for staff having to intervene. Staff is very expensive, to intervene. Decreased agitation and so forth. We had a colleague in business. It was a multi kind of expertise led study. So we had Dr. Terry Wu, for example, who was from our Faculty of Business and Information Technology. He had one of his graduate students do a cost-benefit analysis for the hospital in terms of medications and personnel. Sure. We did SWOT, with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threat analysis. He did as well. So it was a really nicely done study. But the long and short of it is, music really helped to decrease, these BPSDs, and we can document that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Also did some work with something called binaural beat therapies. Is another one. You mentioned frequencies and so forth.
Right.
So we have some preliminary evidence, clinical evidence, to show that you can decrease stress and anxiety. You can actually alter physiological measures, like decrease the need for insulin for diabetics. Dopamine levels you can increase. So people who are patients with Parkinson's disease, for example, they have very, very low levels of dopamine. You want to boost that to prevent the shaking and so forth. It helps improve memory. It decreases pain levels, improves certain psychomotor performance functions. It even for things like acid reflux disease,
Really?
seems to have some benefits. If you're not familiar with what is a binaural beat, it's basically an auditory illusion that's created by your brain when you listen to two different tones with different frequencies in each ear.
Simultaneously.
So your brain creates this additional tone called a binaural beat. So let's say, for example, if you have a set of headphones, in one side you're listening on the left at 310 hertz, and on the right at 300 hertz. So the difference between 310 and 300, take away, is 10 hertz, right? 310. So, but the human ear, our hearing is from 20, if you have really good normal hearing, normal range, 20 to 20,000 hertz. So it's really this illusion that is created. And if you play this binaural beat over time, it can synchronize with certain brain waves. So you can alter brain activity and levels of arousal. So there's so this was actually first discovered way back in 1839.
Wow.
Sorry, 1839. A guy called Heinrich Wilhelm Dove. He was a Prussian physician, and he didn't have earphones back then. So he used a series of tuning forks to talk about it. But the real first publication of this binaural beat came in 1973. It was a biophysicist, a guy called Gerald Oster, and he published an article in the journal Scientific American called Auditory Beats in the Brain. And he said it could be used as a research tool for potential diagnostic applications for things like Parkinson's disease and things like that. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible. And just a little bit, because you mentioned vibrations, and I just wanted to just circle back. I'm
glad you explained that.
Yeah. Yes. The whole thing's about what I'm really excited about, because music consists of a whole bunch of, different hertz and different vibrations, but it's not unique to music. This is the thing that really excites me. When you start looking at the literature, the scientific literature about vibrations, you start to realize that the whole entire earth, the whole entire human body, the whole entire cosmos vibrates at a certain frequency. Everything. Yeah. So if you have a clock on your wall, or you're wearing a watch, for example, a quartz watch, and there's a piece of quartz located in that watch, it's actually shaped like a tuning fork. And when electricity goes into it, it vibrates at 32,768 hertz, to be exact. It actually keeps the time. Right? That's what keeps the time in your. Yeah, it's really cool. And the Earth, Mother Earth, has something called Schumann's resonance, and that's 7.83 hertz. So our Earth, planet Earth, is vibrating at that 7.83 hertz.
Blowing my mind.
Yeah, our universe, if it vibrates out there at 432 hertz. So that's why listening to sounds at 432 is quite relaxing. Even our human body cells, vibrate at a certain frequency. And then there's something binaural beat music therapy, but there's also something called noise therapy. And there's different types of noise. There's white noise, pink noise, green, brown, gray noise. and they all have different applications. White noise is things like TV. On your TV, you'll see static.
Yeah.
It has very low, mid, and high frequency sounds. And white noise machines, just incidentally, in the past 10 years, the sales of white noise machines here in North America has taken off exponentially every year.
Oh, yeah.
They're, mothers and fathers and if young babies are using it to help their babies fall asleep. They're noise
That's
machines.
great.
You may have, and they're used to treat insomnia and attention ADHD. And I know it works because when my youngest was quite young, it's just my oldest boy now was quite young, our first boy, and he had colic and whatever, and he had problems sleeping. And to get him to calm down, I would hold him over the exhaust fan over the stove when you turn it on. That's actually white noise. And after a couple of minutes, even though you were shaking him and holding him and walking with him for 2 hours, couldn't get him to sleep, right? And when I brought him into the kitchen, turned on the fan, the exhaust fan, and held him there for 5 minutes and fall asleep. That's white noise therapy, working for you. Yeah. Yeah, there's different. There's pink noise and brown noise is the most bassiest kind of low end spectrum.
That's great.
And like listening to the gentle surf of the ocean, things like that. Helps people sleep. There's also something called gray noise, which is tailored or customized noise. You can get it from the audiologist or scientist, and we use gray noise actually to treat things like hyperacusis. That means people who have problems with certain sounds, or decreased tolerance to certain sounds. Tinnitus, commonly used to treat tinnitus non-invasively. It's tinnitus is a fancy way of saying ringing in the ears, right?
Yes.
And so gray noise, it promotes reorganization of your cortex. And it's non-invasive, non-surgical, and it's a way that you can treat some of these hearing problems as well. And we're only starting to rediscover some of these various therapies and applications of frequencies and sounds and music and so forth. Just very, very, very recently. So that's sort of that's some of my clinical kind of connection to music, being an artist, and also starting to research it to show, yes, this isn't just anecdotal or your things that your grandma used to say. You can't sleep, listen to some music, go outside and into nature and listen to the surf. It actually works. We can actually demonstrate that,
Dr. Wally Bartfay, thank you for explaining that, because I'm sure everybody out there didn't know that, but they do now. Exactly. And I agree with you all the way on that. We're almost running out of time here, so I want to ask you a fun question here real quick.
Okay.
Quick answer. Anybody in the world who you want to step foot on the stage with?
Oh, God. There's so many great artists. You really put me on a spot. Yeah, I'll have to choose like 5 or 6, but I would probably would love to work with Luke Combs. I really like his music. Morgan Wall and Lanny Wilson. I mean, there's so many. Bailey Zimmerman, Jelly Roll. I mean, there's so many great artists out there, right? I would probably, if I had one guy, I would probably go with Luke. The two Lukes, Luke Bryan, Luke Combs, but I would probably go with him. Really enjoying his music and his songwriting. Yeah.
All right, one more question here. Anywhere in the world, what stage would you like to perform on?
Wow. That Wimbledon. Wimbledon.
You're that one. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. And something about country music now, because I just mentioned Luke Combs, and when we think of country music, we think of it mostly in North America, mostly in the States, but it's very popular here in Canada. We see it being played now in Africa, Australia. The Europeans are really,
it's all over.
really picking up. It's all over the world. It's really gone global. And, Luke Combs won that international award at the Grammy for music for promoting country music international.
Yes.
And places like the Netherlands and Sweden, just love
Mm-hmm.
country music now. So I'm really excited about that too, for hitting those other audiences. Yeah.
Great. Well, Dr. Wally Bartfay, thank you for coming on the No Cover TV podcast. I appreciate it. I want to hit this button right here. See if this right. You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
That's you.
That's me.
Yes, that's you. It's a Friday night. Check out Wally Bartfay out on the platforms. We're going to leave you with a little bit of It's Friday Night from Wally. I love this, Wally. This is good stuff.
Thank you very much for having me, Al.
You're a lot of fun, a lot of information. I'm going to have you back on the show soon, my friend, okay?
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great weekend.
You too, my friend. I'll get the shout out to the platforms and I'll send you a link, my friend, okay?
All right.
So everybody in
Take care.
Land, thank you very much, Wally. Everybody out there, No Cover TV podcast land. Thank you. Check out the past shows and the future shows. We got a lot of incredible artists coming up, just like Dr. Wally Bartfay. Everybody have a good day. You too, Dr. Wally. Take care.
Thanks,
Peace.
Al. Peace.
Bye.
It's Friday night now.
Are we still connected, or I can disconnect? I guess I can disconnect.